Welcome to the Flip and Castle podcast.
Okay, so ever wish you could just sit down with a politician and, ask them anything?
Yeah, really get into those questions you don't usually hear on the news.
Exactly. Well, get that we found this blog post, right? It's called the Free Dumb Report.
Catchy, right?
Totally. And in this section, people are posting questions they'd ask Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. No filter, just straight up, I want to know kind of stuff.
So, real people, real questions.
Real deal. I was so surprised by what I was reading. Definitely not your typical political jargon.
I bet. So what kind of stuff are we talking about?
Let's dive right into this first question for Kamala Harris. Okay. It's about Black Lives Matter, but it gets really specific.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's about the whole thing with fundraising for bail funds. The question basically asks how you support a movement that's, sometimes linked to violence.
Right.
Without actually addressing that violence head on. How do you reconcile those two things?
That's a really interesting question.
Right. It feels like that question has been out there for a while, but nobody really wants to touch it.
Yeah. I mean, it's sensitive, right, but also really important. And what I find interesting is that, at least in this post, it wasn't presented in an angry way or anything. It was just someone genuinely asking for clarification. Help me understand this.
Totally. Okay, ready for the next one? This one's about the COVID vaccine.
Okay.
So it brings up Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's stance before they were in office and then after.
I can see where this is going.
Right? And it really got me thinking about the whole perception versus reality thing in politics.
Oh, absolutely.
Because did their stance actually change, or did it just seem that way once they were in office?
And, how much does that even matter to voters? The perception, I mean.
Exactly.
Because even if a policy makes sense, if it feels like a politician went back on their word,
that's going to erode trust.
Big time. And what makes this question hit home is that it's coming from someone who's actually living with these policies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. It's different when it's not just talking heads on TV debating this stuff,
Yeah.
Okay, switching gears to the Donald Trump questions.
Okay.
The first one is all about family. Specifically, how his family's opinions on immigration might have influenced his own.
That age-old question.
Mm-hmm.
How much does family shape our worldview?
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to something as complex as immigration.
Right. There's this one line in the blog post that I keep thinking about. It asks, how much do your family's beliefs on immigration influence your own? Where do you even begin to separate those two things?
Right. Because even if you try to be objective, those personal relationships have to have some kind of impact.
Exactly. It's is it even possible to be completely unbiased when you're talking about something that directly affects your family? I don't know.
It's a tough one. It really makes you think about the intersection of personal life and politics,
For sure. Okay, next Trump question. I bet you can guess what it's about.
Let me guess COVID.
Ding, ding, ding. But it's not about what he did during the pandemic. It's about hindsight.
Okay, looking back, what would you have done differently?
Exactly. And I get it. It's easy to judge in hindsight. We all make decisions with the information we have at the moment.
Totally. Especially in a crisis, things are changing so fast.
Right. But it also shows how much pressure leaders are under to make the right call, even when nobody knows what the right call is.
Oh, for sure. And the fact that people are asking this question, it shows they want accountability,
Absolutely. Okay, last question. And this one goes out to both candidates.
Yeah.
What's your biggest regret? And what did you learn from it?
Wow. That's a really powerful question.
Right. And it made me realize that maybe we don't talk about regret enough in politics. It's seen as a weakness or something.
Yeah. Politicians are supposed to be infallible or something.
Totally. But I don't know. I think admitting when you've messed up and actually learning from it.
It shows real leadership.
Right.
Yeah.
You're human, just like the rest of us.
And you're willing to grow and do better.
Exactly. So those are the questions, real questions from real people. It really makes you think about what we should be asking our leaders and if they're even listening to the answers.